Welcome back. This time we're going to talk about AWS X-Ray for distributed tracing. So before we get started, hit the like button, subscribe, and share with anyone you know taking the AWS Machine Learning Associate exam. AWS X-Ray is a distributed tracing service for visualizing, analyzing, and debugging applications, especially microservices architectures. It provides end-to-end views of requests flowing through components like API Gateway, Lambda, ECS, EC2, and DynamoDB, enabling identification of bottlenecks, trace failures, and understanding latency issues across services. Unlike traditional logging through CloudWatch logs with text-heavy isolated component views, X-Ray offers visual service maps correlating all infrastructure pieces, handling single requests. So how does this work with other services? All right. So X-Ray supports Lambda natively without additional configuration. ECS and EC2 require X-Ray daemon installation. EKS and Kubernetes need daemon-set deployment. API Gateway, Elastic Load Balancer, and Application Load Balancer integrate natively. Beanstalk includes built-in support. On-prem or custom applications work with installed daemons. And AWS SDKs for Java, Python, Node.js, .NET, and Go require X-Ray SDK integration. X-Ray automatically instruments AWS SDK calls to S3, DynamoDB, HTTP, HTTPS requests, SQL queries to MySQL, PostgreSQL, plus NoSQL queries to DynamoDB. Also works with SNS and SQS calls and Lambda invocations. It integrates with CloudWatch for unified observability, AWS IAM for access control, and KMS for trace encryption at rest. It's a lot, right? So how much does this cost? So Trace costs, Trace has storage costs that are about $5 per million traces recorded. And trace retrieval, including queries and filtering, is free. Traces sent from SDKs to X-Ray are included in storage pricing. And the first 100,000 traces monthly are free per account, per region. And you can use sampling to reduce costs. So don't trace every request, only subsets like one request per 5% or per second, right? So something like 5% of your traffic, right? So, all right, let's see, is this it? Hmm. This wasn't it. Oh, gosh, it's okay. Oh, sorry. So I went to get like the trace architecture. So okay, trace trace requests through systems using segments representing single components handling requests like Lambda or EC2s. Subsegments capture granular actions inside segments like S3 calls inside Lambda. Traces record full request paths across services. Annotations and metadata add searchable context tags. So instrument applications using X-Ray SDK, you can run X-Ray daemon on EC2, ECS, or on-prem to collect and send traces. So Lambda and API Gateway will handle this automatically. And if you grant proper IAM permissions, you can do that to write to X-Ray as well. Okay, so I'm going to show you where to find it, but setting this up would be a little bit of a pain. X-Ray. Okay. Let's see. In the console. Why am I not seeing it? X. Okay. Okay, so we're here in X-Ray. All right, so you can set up the demo application. From there, you can create a stack. I'm not going to do this. I'm sorry. Okay, from within here, you would likely select a subnet from available subnets for the VPC to be able to control this and acknowledge and create a stack for it. Once it deploys, you can get your backend to work with your front end service, having a database there, and it'll take a good amount of times. So once deployed, then you can get the URL, put it in the browser, and start to track how it works. Because that's why this is here. Ugh, I do not want to set this up. Okay. Because this works like a service map. And so within the service map, you can have a graph that displays microservice interactions. So you can see like the ECS service node, DynamoDB tables, SNS topics, and then there'll be arrows showing request flows with indicators per color for errors that'll show 0, 20, 50, 100% success or failure rate. And you can click the node to view its latency, fault percentage, request counts, and distribution histograms, right? There's a bunch of information there, but we're just not going to do that. We're just not. Okay, so security. Okay, so with trace, you can assign an IAM policy like X-Ray daemon access. Probably there's usually a read access, write access, full access for X-Ray, and then for Lambda you can use an execution role to add a permission for X-Ray : trace segments, or put trace segments, or get trace segments, right? And you can have an X-Ray for like put records or get records. And it's very specific to trace. I don't know it off the top of my head, but that's typically what it's going to be. And for EC2 or ECS, you can also run the X-Ray daemon, and then you can always encrypt trace data at rest using AWS KMS. And so how does observability work with this? So modern AI systems have distributed inference pipelines. Input preprocessing occurs in Lambda with S3. Model calls use SageMaker or ECS containers. Result post-processing involves SNS, DynamoDB, and likely API gateway. So X-Ray would identify model latency hotspots and fail components in batch or real-time inference. And then the correlation can be seen between input parameters and failures, and then resources can be described and visualized like throttle database calls, right? So this makes X-Ray powerful for observability in AI-based microservice architecture, right? And then always make sure to clean up. So when you're done in your console, GUI, your CLI, or your IDE, select the stack and click delete, or else you're going to be charged for persistent maintenance of it. Okay, so for the exam, remember a couple of things. Any questions to ask about debugging microservices, identifying bottlenecks in inference pipelines, or visualizing request flows across distributed components? X-Ray is the distributed tracing platform that works with these service interactions, and it'll measure latency and pinpoint failures across the application architecture. And it'll make you an AI ML admin. All right, so that's all for this one. Before we get out of here, hit the like button, subscribe, share with anyone you know taking the AWS Machine Learning Associate exam. But until next time, thank you and have a good day.